So, Glenn, tell us about your role and responsibilities at T. Rowe Price.
I've been at Rowe Price for 27 years. During that time, I've engaged with Charles River for over 20 of those. That's culminated into a role that I have now as the Charles River product owner.
Give us a bit of an overview of T. Rowe Price's relationship to Charles River Development.
So we've engaged with Charles River since 2002. During that time, T. Rowe Price was only using Charles River as a fixed income client. We were also using it as a compliance module, doing firm-wide compliance. In the years that followed, we evolved to also include equity, fixed income, and derivatives. So now it's all of our asset classes on the platform. One of the other things that I'll note is that I feel like our relationship, our partnership has advanced from a more passive vendor-client relationship into one that's now a mutual, bidirectional partnership.
So, Charles River is part of State Street, and you have a 40-plus year relationship with State Street. Tell us a little bit about that.
We do have a long-standing relationship with State Street. A lot of that is born out of State Street acting as the U.S. mutual fund custodian for us. So having had that long history, as we came to find out that State Street was acquiring Charles River, we were excited for what was to come. We've seen that infusion of an investment into the Charles River platform, and what that turns into is what we're excited for. We're excited to see how that accelerates upgrades, how that accelerates the technology modernization that Charles River is part and parcel of everything that we do. How does it help us accelerate our own timeframes? But that comes from the infusion internally through State Street.
So, what are some of the technological or operational challenges that investment firms like T. Rowe Price are facing today?
There's a number of different things. I'll start by saying we all have our own technological debt. And we talk about Charles River modernizing their own tech stack, right? But internally as clients, we have the same. We've built tools over the years. We want to decommission those. Separate from that, how do we keep operating expenses low? Is one of those, it's almost like you have a tech stack that's there that you want to keep up, but how do you keep expenses low? And there's a balancing act there. One of the ways to do that is really, how do you have your business processes made more efficient? So making those changes over time ends up being not always the easiest proposition. People are resistant to change, and I think that's part and parcel of a lot of what we deal with on a daily basis. I'll also say that getting the right data as fast as we can into our ecosystem is important, and Charles River is part of that.
How would you say modern technology aligns with your long-term growth plans?
I'll use three different terms, right? So hybrid, interoperability, and process automation. So in a hybrid world, we're looking at best of breed offerings, whether it's Charles River, whether it's an EMS provider that's separate, whether it's a portfolio management system that's separate, whether it's a data provider that's separate. How do we congeal all of those best of breed platforms and vendor relationships, coupled with our own bespoke kind of offerings and solutions where maybe the vendor platforms don't provide the need for us yet? How do we couple all those together? That's the hybrid solution. Interoperability ends up being, how do you integrate that, stitch all that together in a way that makes them context sensitive to each other? So each of the systems will be responsive to inputs into the other systems in a way that makes it so that our end users are feeling like they're not context switching constantly. They're not swivel chairing between the different platforms that they're on. They are made more efficient by the systems talking to each other. The last is around process automation. So that can be done through a number of ways. Just looking and evaluating what the areas are that are inefficient in a workflow. What are the rote kind of tasks that people are performing? How can you automate those to move them to allow people to go into more high value situations, more high value kind of scenarios? The other way is around, how do we start to implement artificial intelligence? So whether that's what the prompts that we use within LLMs to get more information, how do we refine those prompts to get deeper information out of the system faster, to give us more insights into what we're doing or the trends that are happening in the data sets that are being inspected. Or it's starting to use agents and starting to take on those tasks. How do we further that acceleration? Take on the work that, again, those root processes that are there for the users. How do you start to impose agents into the process to allow the users to do higher value?
So, how does the recent expansion in our partnership benefit T. Rowe Price?
I think our partnership, as the name it would explain, is mutually beneficial. So selfishly, as a client, we want to see more of our strategic priorities, more of the capabilities that we need most in the system imposed into the product on a daily basis. Rather than having to develop our own capabilities in-house, how do we put them into the platform, have them part of the product? On your side, our hope as a client that's highly engaged with you would end up being that the iteration through the development lifecycle is faster. Our response time in providing you feedback on what has been developed allows you to get to a better solution faster and allows you to meet our requirements that we set out as far as our priorities go more effectively than you might otherwise have been.
Can you give us a little bit of a preview of some of the technology and asset management trends that T. Rowe Price is looking to tackle in the coming months and years?
I'll say that there's two key areas for us right now: ETFs and SMAs. Uh, Within those, there's a lot of complexities that come with that. There's vendor partnerships that we're asking Charles River to establish that haven't been made before. Uh, those partnerships are a key part of accelerating our ability to launch new products further and deepen the space in whether it's ETFs or SMAs, deepen our ability to deliver to clients the value that they're demanding. There's other areas. If we look around the globe, what are we doing strategically? We're establishing partners. First Abu Dhabi Bank is one of those that we did in the Middle East to allow us to provide a more global reach to our clients. Technologically, one of the things that we need to get away from is siloed thinking. Instead, we need to be thinking across our investment lifecycle. How do we stitch all of those pieces together? The more we can do that, I think the more cohesive our delivery is, not only internally to our end users of Charles River, but also to our clients.